You know what's funny? I didn't even want the fairy tale. Not the white dress, not the ring, not the wedding hashtags. All I ever wanted was to be chosen, fully, loudly, unapologetically, by someone who saw me for exactly who I was and loved me because of it. Not despite it, but instead, I got Evan. I'm 24 years old, still figuring out who I am, still a little messy in the best ways. I'm the kind of girl who laughs too loud in quiet theaters, who mixes mismatched socks on purpose, who brings home Polaroids from every coffee shop she's ever visited. I write scripts no one reads, perform monologues in front of my mirror, and dream big in a world that constantly tells women to shrink. Evan was clean-cut, corporate, always had the perfect line, the perfect plan. Tall, confident, the kind of guy who makes your parents swoon and your friends say, "Oh, he's a catch." And for a while, I believed that too. We met at a networking event, me with a half pitch for a web series, and him with a career in real estate finance. Somehow we clicked. At first, he loved that I was creative, unpredictable, a free spirit, he said. But over time, the compliments turned cold. What used to be "you're so passionate" became "you're just dramatic." You have so much vision became "you're not practical." And eventually he dropped the line that would haunt me for weeks. "You're not wife material." It was during a conversation I thought was heading toward a proposal, not marriage necessarily, but at least building something more permanent. Instead, he sat across from me in that overpriced Italian restaurant, with candles flickering between us, and told me casually, like he was commenting on the weather, that I wasn't someone he could build a future with. "You're fun, but not stable. You're chasing a fantasy. I need someone real, someone grounded." I blinked at him, trying not to cry in public, trying not to fall apart in front of someone who had once traced poetry on my back with his fingers. I wanted to scream, or laugh, or throw the glass of red wine sitting untouched in front of me, but I did. I swallowed the pain like a professional, and just nodded. I let him pay the bill, I let him walk me to my car, and then I let him go. But that night, I went home and collapsed on my tiny twin bed in the studio apartment he always said was cute, but not livable long term, and I screamed into my pillow until my throat burned. Because for a minute there, I believed him. I believed I wasn't wife material, that maybe my dreams made me too much, too chaotic, too hopeful, too impossible to love. But the thing about rock bottom is, it's solid ground, and I was about to build something on it. 2 weeks later, I pulled my old screenwriting binder out from under my bed. It was dusty, pages bent, sticky notes faded from years of being ignored. The script I had started when I was 19, about a girl who refused to let heartbreak define her, still sat unfinished. Back then, I abandoned it because I didn't think I was good enough. But now I needed to finish it like my life depended on it. Every night after my shifts at the coffee shop, I'd come home, rip off the apron, tie my hair in a bun, and write until my eyes blurred. I poured everything into that script, every insult, every rejection, every moment I felt unseen. I rewrote scenes based on real fights Evan and I had. I turned my humiliation into character arcs. I turned my self-doubt into dialogue. And when I finally finished it, 1,112 pages of raw, emotional honesty, I didn't know what to do with. Until one day, this tiny indie director I followed on Instagram posted about a screenwriting contest for new female voices. I had 24 hours before the deadline. I almost chickened out, but then I remembered Evan's voice in my head, clear as day. "You're chasing a fantasy." So I clicked upload, sent the script, and shut my laptop. I didn't tell anyone. Not my best friend Harper, not my little sister who'd been begging me to share my work, not even my roommate. I didn't want to face the disappointment if it all went nowhere. Weeks passed. I returned to coffee making and tip jars and dodging texts from Evan asking if I was doing okay. And then one morning, I'll never forget it, I got an email with the subject line, "Congratulations, finalist, notification." I read it 5 times before I even breathed. I didn't just make it into the contest. I was one of 3 finalists selected for a production deal. Suddenly, people wanted to talk to me. Agents, producers, even some people from school who used to roll their eyes at the actress girl. And just like that, the story that was born from my worst heartbreak became the story that was about to change everything. But this isn't a fairy tale. It's just the beginning. Because if Evan thought I was too much, then wait until he sees the premiere. I don't sleep the night after the finalist email. I sit on my bedroom floor, knees hugged to my chest, just staring at the screen, rereading every line. It feels surreal, like maybe I've imagined it all. Maybe I'm dreaming, and at any moment I'll wake up in that same stale studio, Evan's words echoing again in my ears. But it's real. The next morning, my inbox is full. The contest coordinator sends me a schedule. They want to fly me out to LA for a finalists panel. My ticket is booked, accommodations covered. They even send me a stylist contact in case I want wardrobe guidance for the big day. I haven't even told my mom yet. She always said acting was a cute phase. And writing? That was just a hobby. When I finally do tell her over the phone, her voice goes quiet for a moment. "Oh," she says. "That's something. I just thought maybe you'd start applying to more stable jobs." Stable. There it is again, the world's favorite word when it comes to girls like me. As if stability and joy can't coexist. As if dreaming big is dangerous. I don't let it sink in too deep. I can't. I call Harper instead, my best friend since middle school, the only person who's ever understood what it's like to burn from the inside out with a passion no one else sees. Her reaction is exactly what I needed. "You're kidding me. You're kidding me. I knew it. I knew you were never." She screams so loud I have to pull the phone away from my ear. "I swear," she says breathlessly, "if Evan finds out, he'll combust." I laugh harder than I've laughed in months. And for the first time since that dinner table breakup, I feel the tiniest flicker of power rising back inside me. Fast forward 2 weeks. I'm standing in front of the studio mirror in LA, dressed in a black jumpsuit that makes me feel like a walking movie poster. My auburn curls are styled to perfection, lips painted a deep rose. The stylist says I look like I belong on stage. I don't correct her. At the panel, I'm seated between two other finalists, both insanely talented. One's a screenwriter who used to work for Disney. The other wrote a viral short film last year. And then there's me, small-town nobody who works at a coffee shop and rewrote her trauma into a screenplay in a twin-sized bed. And yet, I belong here. I feel it, no matter what they say. The audience is a sea of producers, directors, studio reps. One woman from the back raises her hand and asks us, "What inspired your story?" My heart pounds. This is the question I've dreaded. I take a breath. Rejection, I say. Being told I wasn't enough, that I wasn't real, or serious, or worth building a future with. I was in love with someone who saw my dreams as cute, but not sustainable. So I wrote the version of myself that refused to stay small. There's silence. Then, applause. Real, sincere, eyes-welling applause. I spot a few women nodding, lips pressed tight, like maybe they've been there too. Afterward, a producer with bright silver hair and red glasses approaches me. Her name is Val Monroe. She's worked on 6 major films and is exactly the kind of woman I used to think only existed in interviews. She smiles at me and says, "You wrote her like you lived her." I did, I admit. I lived every line. She slips her card into my hand. "Let's talk. I think this could be more than a festival piece. I think it could be a full-length feature." I blink. "Seriously?" Val grins. "You've got teeth. You've got voice. And I've got an opening in my development slate. The girl Evan thought would never amount to more than cute chaos. She's now holding a card from one of the most powerful women in indie film." That night in my hotel room, I stare out at the Los Angeles skyline. The city hums below me, glittering and buzzing like it knows I'm here, like it's whispering, "Welcome. We've been waiting." I FaceTime Harper, and we scream and cry and scream again. "Do you know what this means?" she asks. You're going to be a writer, like a real, paid, full-time writer. And probably on set, and maybe even on screen if they let you cameo. I nod, but I'm quiet. Because there's one person I haven't told. Evan. Not because I want him back. God, no. But because there's a part of me, a very human, very bruised part, that still craves that moment. The look what I did without you moment. And guess what? It comes sooner than expected. Ah. A week after I land back home, Evan texts me. Not a "how are you?" or a "I saw your name." Just "you've been on my mind lately." I stare at the message. My hands tremble. This man broke me, told me I was too much, too dreamy, too impossible. And now that I've made it somewhere, now he remembers? I don't reply. But a few days later, he shows up at the coffee shop. I'm not even surprised. It's like men have radar for when the women they undervalued start rising. He orders an Americano like he always did. When I call out his name, he smiles at me like no time has passed. "Hey," he says. "You look amazing." "Thanks," I reply flat. "I saw something online," he continues, leaning on the counter. "You're writing a movie? That's wow." I nod. "Yeah. Full-length feature. Based on the script you said wasn't realistic." He laughs awkwardly. "I never said that. You said I wasn't wife material, that I was chasing fantasies." He looks uncomfortable now. "Okay, yeah, I said some things. But, come on. I always knew you were talented." "No," I say, locking eyes with him. "You knew I was yours. You never thought I'd belong to myself." He stares at me. I smile. Then I turn and walk away, apron swinging, heart pounding, not from pain, but from something else entirely. Closure. A week later, the deal is official. Val signs me as a co-writer and executive producer. I fly back out to LA to start early development. The script's title? Too Much. Because that's what they always call girls like me. Loud, messy, overly ambitious. But now, Too Much is going to light up a theater near you. And Evan, he'll have to buy a ticket. Development meetings are a whole different universe. I walk into conference rooms where people wear vintage sneakers with $1,000 blazers and talk in fast clips like every second costs money, because it does. LA time runs differently. Faster, sharper, hungrier. And yet, somehow, I belong here. Val Monroe becomes more than a producer. She becomes a mentor. She tells me things straight, like "you're brilliant, but you overwrite." Or "if you want to direct someday, start watching the lighting choices, not just the dialogue." I take notes. I absorb everything. The production company pairs me with a script editor named Daniel. He's patient but precise, pushing me to dig deeper, rewrite moments that feel too clean. "This scene," he says, pointing to a part where my main character forgives her ex too easily, "is not the girl you wrote." I look at him, forehead creased. "What do you mean?" "She's not that nice. And that's okay. Let her be angry. Let her be honest." And that cracks something open in me. Because he's right. I had softened the blow. I had tried to make everyone comfortable, even in the version of the story I was finally telling on my terms. But real power doesn't come from keeping everyone comfortable. So I let her feel it all. The rage, the heartbreak, the grit. I give her permission to be too much. And the script transforms. Meanwhile, Harper is my anchor. She's back home, still working her 9 to 5 in HR, still rooting for me like she's on my payroll. "I'm telling you," she says during one of our late-night calls, "this is going to change everything." I smile. It already has. But something's been sitting in my chest like a brick. The premiere. Val wants to plan a limited festival debut before the official theatrical release. It'll be invite only. Industry folks, press, VIPs, and she looks me dead in the eye over lunch one afternoon and says, "You need to be there, front and center." I nod. Of course I'll be there. But then she adds, bring whoever you want. A date. Friends. Family. And that's when the brick in my chest gets heavier. Family. I haven't told my parents anything beyond, I'm working on a film project. They think I'm on a whim. A side hustle. Something I'll abandon when I grow up. Telling them I co-wrote and co-produced a movie that's about to premiere in front of Hollywood insiders feels like walking into fire. But I know I have to do it. I call them on a Sunday afternoon. My mom answers on speaker like always. My dad chiming in from the background. So, I start. Voice tight. I've got some news. A beat. I signed a movie deal a few months ago. I wrote a script. It's being made. The premiere is in 2 weeks. Silence. Then my mom says, wow, that's a lot. Congratulations, my dad adds. Hesitant. And then, of course, it comes. Is it a real premiere? As in, a public screening? Is it like a YouTube thing? No, I say, swallowing hard. It's a feature, with distribution offers. There will be press. I'm on the official credits. I have a producer badge. Another long pause. Well, my mom finally says, if it makes you happy. It's not the standing ovation I imagined, but it's not a slap either. So I hang up and remind myself, their approval isn't the goal. The goal was always the story. 2 weeks later, the premiere night arrives. I walk into the theater lobby dressed in a floor-length satin gown the color of Merlot. My curls are swept to one side, lips painted a bold matte red. I look like everything Evan once said I wasn't: poised, powerful, unforgettable. Harper flies out just to be there. She wears a dress we found together back in college, and as soon as she sees me, she cries. You look like the ending to a movie, she says. I smile. That's funny, because I feel like the start of one. The press line is overwhelming. Cameras flash. Journalists ask questions about the film's message, its meaning. One reporter leans in and asks, is this based on personal experience? I look straight into the camera and say, every frame of it. Inside the theater, I sit in the front row beside Val. As the lights dim and the film starts, my heart beats louder than the opening credits. Watching it on the big screen is like watching a dream I forgot I had. There she is, the character I created, a version of me that rises after heartbreak, not quietly, but loud enough to make the world stop and watch. People laugh, people cry. There's a moment, that one scene where she stands in the mirror and says, I don't need to be wife material. I'm my own headline, where the entire room goes silent. Then someone claps, then another, then the whole room. After the credits roll, the applause is deafening. I can barely breathe. Val squeezes my hand. You did it. And all I can think is, no, I became it. But the night isn't over, because as I step out into the cool LA evening air, my phone buzzes. A message. From Evan. Saw the trailer. Didn't know you could pull that off. I'm impressed. Proud of you, even. It's simple, but it's everything. I stare at the screen, heart calm, expression unreadable. Then I reply, thank you. I always knew I could, even when you didn't. I hit send. Then I slip my phone into my clutch and walk back into the after party, surrounded by people who never once asked me to shrink. I'm not wife material. I'm main character material. And the world finally knows it. The morning after the premiere feels like waking up in someone else's life. I lie in bed at the hotel, sunlight cutting across the white sheets, and I stare at the ceiling while the afterglow of applause still rings in my ears. For the first time in forever, I don't feel like I need to prove anything to anyone. Not Evan. Not my parents. Not even myself. Because last night, when the credits rolled and my name appeared in bold white letters, written by an executive producer, something clicked inside me. It wasn't just success. It was reclamation. It was finally owning the story I had once begged someone else to believe in. And now, people do. The reviews start coming in that afternoon. A raw and honest debut that redefines the breakup narrative. A woman's revenge wrapped in nuance, grief, and power. A voice we didn't know we were missing. I sit with Harper at a cafe in West Hollywood, both of us hunched over my laptop, sipping iced coffee as we scroll through tweets and snippets of early press. "I told you," she says, beaming. "You were always main character material." I smile, but then I pause on one tweet in particular. It's from a verified director I've admired for years. She writes, "Too much is the kind of script that reminds us that femininity and fire are not opposites." My heart clenches. Because that's the thing. That's what Evan never understood. He wanted soft, silent, supportive, a girl who'd nod and smile and never disrupt the plans he made. But I was always going to be a disruption. And now, I'm being applauded for it. A few days later, Val calls. "You're officially on everyone's radar," she says, her voice buzzing with excitement. "I've had agents calling me, studios asking what else you've got. What do you want to do next?" I freeze for a second. It's a question I've dreamed of answering. But now that it's real, I hesitate. What do I want next? I think about how hard I fought just to be heard, how many rooms I tiptoed into, hoping I'd be tolerated. Now, I want to build rooms where women like me don't have to shrink to fit the script. I want to start a production company. I say. The words come out before I even think them through. One that centers female-led stories. Ones that are loud, messy, complicated, real. Val lets out a soft, delighted laugh. "I was hoping you'd say that," she said, "because I already secured a meeting for you with someone who'd love to help fund it." I blink. "Wait, you what?" "I know a powerhouse when I see one," she replies. "And baby, you're fire." The meeting takes place in a high-rise office, overlooking the city. I sit at a long marble table with two investors, both women, both fierce, and I pitch them the dream. A space where no one asks a woman to tone it down, I say. Where rage is valid, where healing isn't linear, where we're not always someone else's lesson or love interest. They nod along, taking notes. After I finish, one of them leans forward and says, "Why now?" I look her in the eyes. "Because I spent too many years trying to be what men wanted. And now, I'm done trying. I want to be what girls like me needed to see." She nods. And then, she signs. Just like that, Too Much Studios is born. Harper and I go out that night to celebrate. We drink overpriced cocktails and eat truffle fries and laugh until our stomachs hurt. "You realize what you've done, right?" she says. "You turned Heartbreak into a franchise." I raise my glass. "To Evan," I say with a smirk. She grins. May he forever regret opening his mouth. But here's the twist I didn't expect. A few weeks later, I get a message request on Instagram. It's not from Evan. It's from his fiancée. Well, ex-fiancée, I should say. Apparently, she found out about the way he talked about me. About how he belittled my dreams. About how he watched the trailer for Too Much and called it lucky timing. And how when she told him she wanted to go back to grad school, he told her to be realistic. Sound familiar? Her message is short but powerful. "I should have believed you. Thank you for making me see it before it was too late." I stare at it for a long time. Because I never wrote the film to get back at Evan. I wrote it to get out of him, out of the version of myself he trapped in a box, labeled almost good enough. But knowing it helps someone else break free, that's more satisfying than any revenge could ever be. Nah. The rest of the year moves in fast motion. I meet with writers who remind me of younger versions of myself, starry-eyed, unsure, but burning with brilliance. I hire 2 interns. I option a book written by a woman who escaped a cult and turned her trauma into art. I learn how to lead, how to say no, how to say yes only when it's a full-body yes. And all the while, the film keeps making noise. More festival invites, an award nomination, a streaming deal. And Evan, he fades into a speck in my rearview mirror, not with bitterness, but with peace. because now I see him for what he was. Not a villain, not a monster, just a man who couldn't see past the version of me that made him comfortable. And I stopped making myself small a long time ago. The first time I walk into the new office of Too Much Studios, I feel like I'm stepping into a scene I wrote for someone else. Whitewashed brick walls, sunlight pouring in through tall windows, Polaroids already pinned to a corkboard, a small shelf of film scripts and fresh coffee brewing in the corner. Harper walks in behind me holding 2 iced lattes and grinning like she built the place herself. "You manifested this," she says, handing me a cup. "Every inch of it. I bled for it," I reply, half laughing. "But it's true. This isn't a fairy tale. This isn't some magical overnight win. This is what clawing your way back to your own voice looks like. Scraped knees, sleepless nights, a throat sore from telling your story so loud they finally had no choice but to listen." I hold the first official team meeting that week. 6 of us sit in folding chairs because the real furniture hasn't arrived yet. There's me, Harper, who I hired full-time as creative operations manager, 2 staff writers, a part-time editor, and a marketing genius named Shayla, who used to run indie fashion campaigns. We don't have a logo yet, we don't have a tagline, but we have a mission. We are going to tell stories that shake people, I say, that don't apologize, that don't wait to be understood. I look around the room, all women, all under 35, all with fire in their eyes. We don't tone down here, we amplify. They nod, some smile, one even tears up. It hits me right then. This is bigger than me now. The first project we greenlight is a docuseries called Unpretty, featuring young women who've been told they were too something, too loud, too angry, too dark-skinned, too curvy, too weird. Each episode unpacks how those labels almost broke them, and how they turned those same traits into power. We film on shoestring budgets, we borrow studio space, we barter with makeup artists, and use secondhand wardrobes. But when the teaser trailer drops, it goes viral in 2 hours. By day's end, it's on the front page of 3 major entertainment blogs with headlines like, "The new voice of femininity has arrived and she's done apologizing." I spend more time behind the camera now, not because I'm hiding, but because I'm finally creating space for other voices to be seen. I mentor a 19-year-old writer who's never been told she's talented. I help produce a short film by a trans girl whose film school rejected her final project for being too niche. I sit on panels where I say things like, "You don't have to be palatable to be powerful." And every time, I remember how Evan looked at me across that restaurant table and decided I wasn't what he wanted. Good. I wasn't built to fit someone's checklist. Then, something unexpected happens. I'm offered a lead role, a real, SAG-significant, studio-backed lead role, in a romantic drama, directed by none other than Rita Hale, the woman whose tweet launched my name into the industry to begin with. She read my profile, watched Too Much, said she wanted someone who understood heartbreak from the inside out. At first, I hesitate. "I thought I was done with acting," I tell Harper. She raises an eyebrow. "Or maybe you were just waiting for the part that didn't require you to shrink." I take the meeting. Rita doesn't ask me to audition. She says, "This role is yours if you want it." I'm tired of casting women who look good next to a man. I want someone who sets fire to the frame. I say yes before I can talk myself out of it. Filming starts 3 months later in New York. The character, Lena, is raw, tender, furious. She walks through Betrayal like it's a storm she's choosing to stand in. The script has lines that punch me in the chest. One scene has Lena yelling into the night, "I wasn't made to be safe. I was made to feel everything and then turn it into something that burns." Every time I say it, it feels like exorcism. The director tears up after the 3rd take. "You are her," she says, and I realize, I am. The film wraps, and suddenly I'm being talked about not just as a writer, not just a producer, but as a rising actress. The press wants interviews, magazines want features, and one day, I open my inbox and see an email titled, "Vogue September Cover Feature Inquiry." I sit very still, because this is not about revenge, this is about resurrection. When the cover drops, it's me in a black suit, no makeup, hair wild, eyes defiant. The headline reads, "Too much?" or "Just getting started." Inside, the article quotes me saying, "He said I wasn't wife material. He was right. I wasn't built to complete someone else. I was built to become someone entire." And when I post it to Instagram, it's not about showing off. It's about leaving proof. For every girl who's been told she's too loud, too soft, too much, too late, I want them to know there's no such thing. That night, I walk through my apartment barefoot, music low, phone on silent. There are no crowds, no interviews, just me, exactly as I am. And for the first time in my life, I don't feel like I need to be chosen, because I've already chosen myself, and nothing, not a man, not a headline, not a title will ever mean more than that. There's something no one tells you about success. It doesn't silence all the doubts. It just gives you more room to speak over them. And I do, loudly. Every time I step on a stage, onto a set, or into a boardroom, I carry the girl who once asked, "Am I enough?" Now I answer her back, "You're not just enough. You're everything." Unpretty gets picked up by a major streamer. We launch season 2 with double the budget and 5 times the audience. Emails pour in from girls in rural towns, from single moms, from queer teens, from women who haven't spoken their truth in decades. One message sticks with me. "You made me feel seen without even knowing me." I sit at my desk reading that over and over. This is what Too Much Studios was built for. But the momentum only grows. An indie publisher reaches out. "We want your voice in print." I laugh when I read the subject line, "Have you ever considered a memoir?" At first, I say no. What could I write that I haven't already poured into the screen? But then I wake up at 3 a.m. one night, and it hits me. There's a story I haven't told, not just about Ev, but about the years before, the micro cuts, the polite silencing, the men who praised me just enough to keep me hungry but never fed me the whole seat at the table. I open my laptop and write the first chapter. This isn't a revenge story, it's a relief. While the book deal takes shape, I'm invited to give a keynote at a global Women in Film Summit. The theme? Redefining Power. I write my speech with tears in my eyes. Not because I'm sad, but because I remember. I remember the bathroom floor, where I cried after Evan's words pierced my ribs. I remember the hallway, where I heard his laughter after he said I wasn't wife material, and meant it like a compliment. I remember how I wanted to disappear so I wouldn't make anyone uncomfortable anymore. But here I am now, preparing to speak in front of fourth, and not one of them wants me to disappear. On stage, the lights are warm, the room is silent, my heartbeat is loud, but my voice is louder. I tell them everything, how I was dismissed, how I was doubted, how I used their underestimation as fuel, and then I say the part I know will make headlines. "He said I wasn't wife material." And maybe I'm not, because I was never meant to be someone's accessory. I was meant to be the whole damn story. The audience erupts. I see women clutching their hearts. Some stand, some wipe tears. I finish with one line, the one I believe with everything in me. If they call you too much, it's only because they've never seen anyone carry that much power without breaking. After the speech, my Instagram explodes. Clips go viral. Celebs repost it. A teenage girl from India messages me and says she translated my quote into her school presentation, and I just sit in my room, wearing an oversized hoodie, eating cold noodles, realizing this is what legacy feels like. Not fame, not fortune, impact. A week later, I get a surprise visitor. Harper buzzes up to my apartment on a random Tuesday evening with a mischievous smile. "What are you hiding?" I ask. She pulls out a large envelope. Inside, a wedding invitation. I read the names. One of them is Evan's. I blink. Then I laugh, hard. "He's really getting married," I say. Harper smirks. To someone I hear doesn't talk back. "Ouch," I say, grinning. "That used to be me." Then I pause. Not because it hurts, but because it doesn't. He's a footnote now. Not even a villain in my book. Just a prologue I outgrew. Weeks pass. The book nears completion. My editor cries over the chapter about my lowest point, the one where I considered giving it all up just to feel wanted again. You need to keep that chapter, she says. It's the heart. And I do. Because women don't need to read about perfect comebacks. They need to see the mess, the ache, the climb. They need to see themselves. One morning, I wake up to an email from the Academy. They're hosting a panel called Breaking Archetypes. They want me to speak alongside two of the biggest actresses of our generation and a legendary director. I don't hesitate. I say yes. At the panel, someone asks, "What advice would you give the girl who feels like she's not wife material?" I smile, tell her to stop trying to fit the mold. Break it. Burn it. Then build something too bold to ever be boxed again. The audience claps. And just for a second, I look into the camera like I'm speaking to Evan himself, because I am. And I'm smiling, not out of spite, but out of freedom. The day the book launches, I wake up to a text from Harper that just says, "One on pre-orders, you did it." I sit up in bed, phone clutched to my chest, staring out the window at a world that once felt too big for me to speak into. Now, I've carved out a whole space for myself. No one handed it to me. I built it, word by word, scene by scene, flame by flame. And the title of the book? Too Much. Just like the film. Just like me. We hold the launch party at a downtown rooftop venue. String lights overhead, a jazz band playing softly, stacks of my memoir sitting next to pink cocktails named after quotes from the book. Every woman here has been labeled something. Bossy, dramatic, cold, emotional, hysterical, too loud, too independent, too intense. And every single one of them stands tall tonight. I don't wear a ball gown. I wear a tailored crimson suit, with black heels and a gold chain around my neck that reads, Enough. Because I am. Dud midway through the night, I step out onto the balcony for a breath of air. A young girl, maybe 19, walks up to me hesitantly. She's holding her phone like it's armor. She says nervously. I just wanted to say thank you. I read the book in 2 days. I didn't even know someone could put into words how I felt my whole life. She pauses, eyes filling. I broke off my engagement because of your book. He didn't think I should go back to school. Said I should just stay home. And I realized I was repeating your story. Just earlier, I swallow the lump rising in my throat. Then I reach out and gently squeeze her hand. You didn't break anything, I say. You unlocked something. She nods. And we stand there for a moment, two women from two different lives, sharing one truth. Freedom isn't found in being chosen. It's found in choosing yourself. The reviews are glowing, but it's the reader reviews that break me in the best way. One says, I left a job I hated because I realized I wasn't too ambitious. I was just surrounded by people afraid of women like me. Another says, I started writing again. Another, I stopped apologizing for taking up space. I screenshot every single one and keep them in a folder on my laptop titled Proof of Power. Months pass. Life quiets in a good way. I don't crave the noise anymore. Don't need to prove anything. I work. I rest. I laugh louder than I used to. I say no faster. I say yes only when it feels like expansion, not expectation. One night, I'm watching an early cut of a new documentary we're producing. It's about women reclaiming their bodies after eating disorders. One scene shows a girl standing in a mirror, her hand trembling, as she says, I'm still learning how to love myself out loud. And I cry. Because that was me. Because in some ways, it still is me. But now, I get to be the mirror others look into and finally recognize their own power. Too Much Studios goes global the next year. We launch a mentorship program, internships for girls from underfunded schools. We partner with nonprofits that support women transitioning out of domestic violence shelters. We screen films in small-town theaters where girls have never seen a character like themselves on screen. We don't just tell stories now, we build them. And somewhere in all of this, in the soft hours when I'm journaling, or teaching a workshop, or sitting cross-legged on the floor editing a pitch deck, I realize something beautiful. I'm not angry anymore. Not at Evan. Not at the people who dismissed me. Not even at the old version of myself who waited so long to speak. Because I understand now. The silence was part of the journey. The pause before the rise. And the rise, it's here. I'll go back and reread the last text Evan ever sent me, the one I never replied to. It was short. No apology, just, I saw the trailer. Guess you proved me wrong. I smile at it now. Not because I want him to regret anything, but because I no longer need him to. He was right. In a way, I'm not wife material. I'm not background material. I'm not second place, or second choice, or what if material. I'm headline material, main character, final act, curtain call. One last moment. I'm sitting in a dark theater as the lights dim for the premiere of our newest film. A love story about two girls who defy their families, chase their art, and rewrite their ending. The screen flickers to life, the credits start, and when my name appears, executive producer me, the entire crowd claps, but I don't look at the screen. I look inward, and I whisper to myself, just loud enough to hear, you didn't just survive, you rewrote the script, and you made it a masterpiece.